almost like you got to stand on a mountain and say, the call, because that's what it requires. All right. It is a bold queer African production that is also blending music, storytelling, and visual arts to celebrate themes of joy, themes of identity, themes of survival. And as I understand it, it is inspired by Shakespeare's The Tempest, all right, as it reshapes the classic tale through South African history and queer experiences. Very, very interesting. So I guess if you're like me and you haven't really tapped into queer productions that are musically inclined, this one is going to be quite a treat. Let's talk about it. Okay, we're going to be talking to Mkhululi Mabija, who is a playwright and librettist. I hope I'm saying it correctly. Who's joining us on the line so we can talk about The Call. Mkhululi, a pleasure to talk to you on Channel Africa. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me on Channel Africa. It's my first time. Exciting times.
Listen, very excited to talk about The Call. Please, can we talk about what a librettist does? Sounds very, very executive, librettist.
I get that all the time.
Oh,
A librettist is the words person to operas and musicals. So I basically am the playwright and I'm the lyricist, but my work is primarily to work with music. So everything that I do has to have a component of music. So as a librettist, it's a rare occasion. I do plays and I write plays. So operas and musicals are more my thing.
You see, we learn every single day.
Oh, I love it.
We learn every single day. Mkhululi, let's talk about The Call, because it is, it evolved from the Shakespearean play Tempest. But, many artists reinvent or reinterpret classics, right? But you have chosen to completely reimagine this one through African and queer identities. Tell us how this idea came about and what statement you are hoping to make through this transformation.
Yeah, thank you so much. Not necessarily a statement, but a rediscovery. The Tempest is Shakespeare's most African play.
Yeah,
and if you look at the text, if you look at the geography, if you look at the history in it, it's his most African and Pan-Africanist play that he has. And if you speak Shakespeare, they had men performing in dresses in the 1500s, 1600s.
Yep.
So it's not a new thing, that we explore all of these things. So we just reimagining and rediscovering it. But what's new is that really bringing it to the South African context, because the elements of the politics, the elements that we discuss that's in the show already, is actually relevant to our situation right now. Caliban's mother came onto the island. She was the original owner of the island. Then Caliban, the slave, who's now the slave, is robbed of the land, and Prospero is taken over. And as Africans, we understand colonialism so well. So those are points that are brought into it, and even now, neo-colonialism in spaces, especially the big cities, pushing people out. So all of these elements are quite relevant right now to our lived experience. And flipping it in its head, it's like really, it's about having fun. It's really just about having fun. It's about really understanding it, but yet not leaving the theater crawling because you were like, oh my goodness, that thing was so intense. But more elevated, saying, okay, people live like that, and okay, this is how they think, and this is what they do. Okay, let me just reassess this, and let me just think about this more instead of just taking things at face value.
This is so exciting. I want to watch this. I want to watch The Call. If you happen to catch this broadcast live, thank you for tuning in. This is Channel Africa, The Upside, and our special guest in the final hour is Mkhululi Mabija, joining us in his capacity as a playwright and librettist. Okay, and we're talking about The Call and how it blends music. I mean, all the things that really make African people what they are. Music, rhythm, visual art are all incorporated in the story. Let's take a break.
Darubini ya Afrika na I am Henry Shakif.
Deogratius Bwire, wewe kama mkurugenzi wa shirika la kutetea haki za binadamu kutoka kule Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. Maandamano yameendelea kwa siku ya pili. Nini kinaendelea?
Kwanza mimi ningependa tusiliweke kama wafuasi wa upinzani. Kwa sababu kiukweli mimi nilipata kidogo kushuhudia watu waliokuwa wanapita barabarani hawakuwa kwa namna yoyote ile wamebeba bendera ya chama chochote cha upinzani.
Umezungumzia swala zima vitu ambavyo havijakaa sawa vinapaswa kurekebishwa. Vitu hivyo ni nini?
Hiyo vitu ambavyo havijakaa sawa tayari nimeshavisema huko. Najua kumekuwepo na mtiririko wa matukio mengi sana. Watu ambao wanakuwa wanapinga masuala kadha wa kadha ambayo yanaonekana kufanywa na vyombo vya dola kwenye mitandao au hata pia nje, wamekuwa wakichukuliwa hatua.
Darubini ya Afrika kila Jumatatu hadi Ijumaa kuanzia saa 11 kamili hadi saa 12 kamili jioni majira ya Afrika ya Kati.
The Upside with Tebogo Lekhuleni and Mosito, bringing Africa's voices to the world. On Channel Africa, the African perspective.
22 minutes into 3 p.m. in Central African time. We are broadcasting live, and of course, you can catch this broadcast on Southern African Satellite on the audio bouquet on DSTV channel 802. We are talking about The Call, which is a musical that celebrates queer identity and the community, but doing so through a wonderful production, I beg your pardon, that is navigating storytelling in a very joyful manner. I think if you were able to catch the first segment with Mkhululi Mabija, who is the playwright behind this wonderful production, giving us context as to bringing lightness into the challenges of the community, but also inclusive of that is the challenges that all people under the African sky face today. So he joins us on the line as we really continue to talk about this wonderful production. Mkhululi, let's talk about just casting for this. I would imagine casting for this must be quite a thing, because you are not only looking for people that are actors, you're looking for people that also have a lived experience to share. You're looking for people that know how to sing. You're looking for powerful stage presence, big voices that are able to take the story forward. Tell us about the casting.
Yes, thank you for that. It was quite an interesting experience. I've never really had to, in the past, we always think about colorblind casting and, how to move things forward. But now this casting was very interesting because we had to look at also casting trans people, people who are in the LGBTQI community, and also allies of the LGBTQI community, so it was just a beautiful mixed bag of people who are just who believe in the work, who believe in the struggle of the people of this community, and yet in the same breath also who can perform, who are phenomenal performers. So and also casting it in Cape Town was beautiful because it's just there's so many people of every single color of the rainbow here in Cape Town. So we went through a whole rounds of casting, but we found a perfect cast that could assist us to actually see what this thing actually is,
Mkhululi, let's talk about the stage. I assume it is based on an island. Am I correct in saying that? And is the island used as a metaphor, right? In your version of the Tempest, what is it? What is it saying? Why an island? Because some people may think an island is isolation. One manned island. Tell us about it. What does it mean? What does it represent?
And looking from thank you for that. Looking for it from the African context, we have islands that were really prisoners to our people. We look at St. Helena, we look at Robben Island, you look at Zanzibar, you look at all these islands that were used to really oppress some of our people. So that is a big thing. That's a bigger question, is like what really happens in these spaces. So lucky for us, yes, the Tempest is set on this, but as Africans, we know even Guatemala Bay, it's like these
Yes.
islands that
Yes.
that have all these atrocities happening to humanity. So what happens when everybody's status is at zero at this island, but not as a prisoner? So this is the new discovery, how we flipped it. What happens when the king comes and he's not a king? In our piece, he's a president. So what happens is that he's not president of this land. He's just a man, and he meets his ex, who's Prospero. What happens there when they just meet as two human beings and not people of status? So, and that is the bigger point about that we're trying to also push across, is that how do we see each other, not in our socio-political situations or in our statuses, where we are in our community, but just man to man, woman to woman, um, and so forth, and what is that connectivity that we're running away from? So the call is actually that. What is that call from the beginning? What is it that we need to be reminded of? That is like that, a bird's call that wakes up us every morning, the imam's call that wakes up our hearts every single morning. What is that call to us innately as human beings? And let's get back to that call.
Man, I love your mind. I love that. And I like that Tebogo actually asked you about the islands, because isn't it fascinating? And I think in explorations of Black geographies on the African continent, but also in diasporic spaces. You mentioned Nicaragua.
Guantanamo Bay.
Guantanamo Bay.
Guantanamo Bay, yeah.
Yeah. What other places? The Dominican Republic.
Jamaica,
Yes.
all these, yeah, there was
Garifuna, all those places. Absolutely.
Yes.
I think that is that is a big musical. Oh my goodness. Let's talk about the core message in the compositions very quickly, if we could just look at that, because I think that's such an important element of your storytelling. The opera, borrowing from Shakespeare and Africanizing it, perhaps through instrumentation as well. What is your approach to that?
That was a fun way to actually tell this piece, because you can't do it without the music,
Yeah.
So I've got wonderful collaborators, Paul Castles, the composer, and Nonku Piri, who's the music director and
Amazing.
orchestrator, and Nonku is a genius.
Oh man, she is.
Yeah, she's amazing, and just having a part of this with Paul and I, it's just being amazing. So what they've done is that actually we've taken the score and made it electric. And in that electricness, we found the amapiano, the opera, the Shangaan, all of that is living in the electric, and it's such a beautiful amalgamation, because it's just like, what is music? What is the music of an island? What is that music? You're surrounded by this body of water. What is that magic that comes from it in the evening, in a full moon? And the best way right now that we've done it is through electronic, techno kind of music. So it's going to be so interesting just having this contrast of having the Shakespeare, and it's queer and it's drag with electro. You're going to feel like you're in a club, but yet in a church, yet in a rave. But the whole point is a place of just of upliftment and understanding, and just of oneness that we want to get to. And because we're surrounded by this body of water, you have nowhere to go. You got to deal with this issue. Let's have fun, and let's see where the night gets us.
And Mkhululi, let's talk about dates. Am I correct in saying it's already passed, or are we going to have another in Johannesburg at some point?
Yes, this past Saturday and Sunday, we had the first stage reading that happened at Outlaw Base here in Cape Town on Hart Street. But this is very exciting because we actually have an American partner, the Rattlestick Theater off Broadway in New York. So in February, we're actually all going to New York. We're gonna have a developmental residency there where we can explore the piece more and break it up because we're looking at taking this to Broadway. And we have Broadway producers attached to it already. Ms. Cesare Dolfa, who's our leader, and she just got nominated this year for a Tony Award for the production of Gypsy on Broadway, a woman of color doing good work in New York City. So we're looking at Broadway and then looking at bringing it back home. So with Storybridge, it's a beautiful connection that Cesare has done because Cesare and I and Paul, we met 18 years ago in New York as students. And Paul and I have since come back to South Africa. Paul is Australian, but he lives here in South Africa now. And Cesare stayed, but Cesare's got this company, Storybridge, where she wants to take the stories back and forth, from Cape Town to New York, from New York back to Cape Town. So that is the whole point of Storybridge, this exchange. And this show is the springboard of that exchange, of us having first shown this in Cape Town and then moving it and having it showed in New York in 3 months. Stunning. And then we have meetings with other theaters in Cape Town again to see if we can bring it back towards the end of 2026. Beginning 2027. So we'll please be on the lookout for that after we come back. And then we head back to New York.
Man, listen, I'm so proud of you. And the words that I heard in my head now is Mkhululi Zandile Mabija from Kimberley to Broadway. That's what I heard in my head. Well done, you.
From
well
your
done.
lips to from your lips to God's ears. Thank you so much.
Well done. This is such a beautiful initiative. The Call, a bold queer African production that is coming to the stage near you. So if I were you, I would pay attention. Such a beautiful story and a wonderful conversation. 333 on the clock. Let's check in with sports.
Sports.